Hi everyone, welcome to Byte Marx. And today we've got a very, very special episode because we're joined by actual podcasters. We are joined by Dustin Wozniak and Liam Anderson of the famed Well, There's Your Problem podcast. Say hello, guys.
Hello, guys.
Hello, guys.
I walk into that one every single time. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves so that two people who don't know who you are?
Hello, I'm Justin Rosniak. I'm the person who's talking right now. I'm the host of Well, There's Your Problem, a podcast about engineering disasters with slides. This podcast is apparently also going to have slides, so we're all excited for that.
I say your pronouns.
Oh, my pronouns are he and him.
There we go. Hi, I'm Liam Anderson. I'm the mascot of the podcast. Well, there's your problem. A podcast about engineering disasters with slides.
I already said that.
I know, but that's how they know me. They don't know me from my corporate job.
Oh, I see.
They just know I'm an asshole on Twitter. So my pronouns are he and him.
Awesome. I'm Emilio, the host of Byte Marx. My pronouns are he and him. Callum?
And no matter what you can do or anyone else does, I'm still Callum. And my pronouns are unpronounceable in your Earth language, but you can call me he.
Okay, that's fair enough. So,
Fair enough,
seems to sort of detract from the utility of pronouns if they're unpronounceable. Like, the idea is to be able to shorten.
Well, they're not unwritable.
Oh, well,
I guess
where I
that would
come
make
from,
sense,
you
yeah.
smell them.
Oh, well,
all
I
right,
got
that
some
makes
bad news for you.
I know you're shouting your pronouns right now.
Yes.
oh boy, we gotta get HR
For those,
involved.
for those of you at home, that man is quite sweaty.
He came back from the
Yeah.
mountain. Maybe he got like spurred powers. I don't know how it works. That part of the U.S. is a mystery to me.
It's all mountains and people who really like Donald Trump.
Oh god. You went on a
Yeah.
vision quest to like a McDonald's parking lot.
Yeah, if this is the part of the country that doesn't even have McDonald's, man. It's
Oh, fuck.
yeah,
do you
our most
have?
Actually,
If you don't have McDonald's, what do you have?
gas stations.
There's a
Ugh.
gas station.
All
There was
right.
like a family restaurant by the interstate.
Okay.
um,
Well, that's
That's
Everything
it.
was
That's all.
antique stores. It was all antique stores. There was no like grocery or food, or it's just antique stores.
Yes.
well.
Yes, please.
If you were in
Antiques
the
sustain me.
if you were in the New England part of the United States, I would understand because the wasps are probably feed off that energy. But anyway, so today on Byte Marx, we are doing something very special, and that is we're changing it up by talking about a video game, but also we're talking about something that I would consider to be an engineering disaster. So as you can see by the slide. We have we're talking about about Half-Life, and the title, of course, says "Government Policy Equals Murder," and we're going to explore that, of course, as time goes on. But of course, we can't talk about Half-Life without first talking about something even more important, and that is a valve.
Valve.
And
Oh,
that,
Valve.
yes,
I hate you.
I
Emilio,
like this. I like this visual gag.
Emilio, look at me. Look me in the eyes. I hate you.
I understand it's a video game studio that doesn't actually produce video games.
No, now they just produce DLC and whatever
Hats.
other stupid thing.
it is.
They're a hat company now.
It is a
Yeah.
fascinating idea of what a video game studio could be, and we will talk about that and their most important product, which is, of course, another visual pun. Yeah, I went a little bit overboard with that, but I'm sure everyone knows what we're talking about, and that is, of course, the video game Half-Life by the games company, and also occasional gambling company Valve. For those of you who aren't aware, Callum, why don't you talk about Valve to get us started?
Okay, so one day, a regular man drank a magic glass of milk, and he was turned into Gabe Newell, who crafted the company Valve. I don't know if he actually made it, but he was a part of it, which is a game development studio in America that's Seattle-based, if I recall correctly. They have created games like Team Fortress 2 and the Half-Life series and Portal, which I would consider their most famous and important game, but Emilio and I disagree sometimes. And most
It's
their most
Half-Life 2, you fraud.
fight me, sweaty mountain man. But I probably their most famous and most contributory contribution to the gaming industry has been Steam, the online store where most people buy computer games now.
Yeah, if anything, I think a lot of people, especially maybe Zoomers, probably aren't so aware of the legacy that Valve has had on the actual gaming industry, not so much on the way that you buy games. Half-Life was a revolution for the time because it was one of the first really good story-driven FPS games that weren't just shooting demons in kind of the samey corridors, running around at hyperspeed, codified by Doom. And
but actually, if I can jump in there,
yeah, sure.
Interestingly enough, that was what Half-Life was meant to be.
Oh, it was meant to be a Doom clone.
It was meant to be a Quake total conversion, which means that it basically followed the same model as Quake, but with new artwork and new levels and things.
Wasn't that just the word for first-person shooter back then? Was Doom clone?
Yeah.
Actually, no. It should have been Wolfenstein clone because Wolfenstein was the first proper three-dimensional shooter. But yeah, Doom was better.
Yeah, it's one of those funny cases where like Wolfenstein 3D came out and it has like all the elements that you would expect of a first-person shooter. You run around shooting Nazis. You've got different kinds of guns. It's a fun time, but it just was very limited and very, I think, arguably not too interesting relative to the other games of the time. And when Doom came out, it just like blew everyone's socks off. And so we call them Doom clones, even though it wasn't technically the first one. And I guess you could, actually, there were like other FPS games before then, but come on, like Doom was one of the first big ones, so it deserves the title. But for the viewers at home, you might be wondering, okay, well, we usually talk about video games on this podcast. Why do we have two people who, one of them is an engineer and the other one is I'm not quite sure. Drexel University has made that kind of confusing.
Liam is a Liam.
Liam is a Liam, yeah.
Liam is a Liam.
So the question is, getting ahead of myself there. So the question is, why do we have them on here? Well, the central plot of Half-Life 1 is that you are to everyone's horror, a government employee who works...
working for the government. Best gig I ever had was working for the goddamn government. Our lunch, all the paid vacation I could ask for, best benefits. I worked in City Hall. I never triggered a Resonance Cascade, though. That was above my pay grade.
Did they teach you how to shoot guns?
No, it wasn't that part of the government, but I got to argue with sheriff's deputies a lot.
Oh, that must have been awesome.
Nice.
So for some reason, most of the employees at Black Mesa get firearms training, for reasons that I think will become apparent as we go through this. So the story of Half-Life, I keep calling it Black Mesa because of the remake, but the story of Half-Life is basically you are having the worst day ever as an employee. You've arrived late for work. And, your boss is telling you to haul ass. Yeah. And you end up triggering the near apocalypse of the Earth and almost dying like a bajillion times. So...
Mondays, am I right?
Yes.
So we have to start this off by talking a little bit about... let me set the scene. So, May 16th, it's a 8:45. Gordon Freeman is late for his first shift at the Black Mesa facility. At the start of Half-Life 1, you have this very interesting sequence where you will basically experience the story by listening to some automated messages while you're on a tram. Gordon is late. they're doing a big time experiment at the facility, and Gordon has a PhD. He's a very highly qualified scientist, but for some reason or the other, and here we are looking at a very highly technical diagram, the job just involves him pushing a cart into a bunch of lasers. Now, Justin, maybe you can sort of jump in here about like how the government sort of uses its qualified personnel. But would that be realistic? Would they just hire a PhD student to push some things into some lasers?
I mean, they would hire a PhD student to do that. They wouldn't hire a PhD. Well, they probably would hire a PhD.
No, they'd hire a PhD to do that. The PhD market's a little saturated. So Half-Life was just prescient in knowing that a guy with a PhD, I believe from MIT, in canon, is just there to push some shit around. I absolutely believe that.
Yeah, exactly.
I for one don't, because I don't think Gordon has any work experience. So he'd need at least 5 years experience in that field.
In the cart pushing field.
Yeah, before he's
got to submit his times at the cart pushing races.
Yeah, he doesn't have enough references.
Well, you see, the problem is...
Yeah, it turns out he's actually only qualified with wheelbarrows and not carts.
Yeah, they were in crunch time. They had to hire somebody, so Gordon Freeman it was.
I mean, yeah.
The big problem was that he, for some reason, gets a highly advanced suit of power armor called the HEV suit. That's like the iconic orange suit of Half-Life. And the interesting thing is, of course, this power armor protects him from things like radiation and chemical burns and gunfire for some reason. It's a very...
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like...
You've ever had a day like that, Roz, when you were working at PHA? Just strap on the power armor to go do an inspection?
No, I did encounter several of those things while working at the housing authority. But no, we did not have power armor suits.
They gotta up that budget, man.
Yeah.
I do also want to say that Gordon Freeman goes over basically a small lake of toxic waste, like a good 10 minutes before he gets his power suit.
It's we have to, the government is like incredibly wasteful in its spending. Like, the U.S. deficit balloons every year. They're not buying enough power armor for the grad students. It's a mess, So the question is, of course, what is going on? And Liam mentioned this earlier, but what is exactly a resonance cascade? So we'll start our story actually in chapter 2 of Half-Life. Half-Life is divided into a number of chapters. There are like 18 or something like that.
Buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up. So our story starts at chapter 2, Anomalous Materials. Gordon was late. Yes?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is your slideshow supposed to be full screen? Because I'm seeing a window which has which is just a normal PowerPoint window.
It is supposed to be full screen, but it looks like we have some technical issues.
Well, maybe
Please stand by.
You may have your stream set to a particular window as opposed to, your whole monitor.
Yeah.
I have this problem a lot.
Yes?
Oh, there we go.
Huzzah!
There we go. Is this done in Lego?
Yes.
Hell yeah,
Seems to be the case, yeah.
I really wanted a fun drawing, a diagram for the testing chamber, because actually getting good quality pictures of the testing chamber is really hard, and like you can actually see the lasers and what they're doing. So basically, Gordon has this expensive education. A giant glowing green crystal pops up from the floor on a cart, and his job is literally to just push it into a giant field of lasers. So first up, I think like Anomalous Materials really sets the tone for a lot of the the stuff. Like for starters, Gordon never speaks. Like he's completely silent throughout this entire game, which is a huge departure. For like video game storytelling. Usually, we're in this era of video games where like there are mascots who are cracking wise, and they're all animals for some reason.
Yes.
Yeah, like, I was gonna make a Mario Italian joke, but I think that might be in poor taste.
There are no Italians on this podcast.
Well, that's not the case. That's not the point, Emilio. I'm not worried about offending anyone who's here.
Okay, fair enough.
We're putting this on the
I'm
internet.
offended that you're not insulting Italians.
Ooh.
Okay, well,
Yeah. Step up your game, boys.
you can't bloody win.
No, you can't. We're this close to being cancelled on Twitter. We might as well go.
Yeah, we're this close to being ignored to death on Twitter.
God.
So
Look, stir up some controversy. If you get canceled hard enough, no publicity is bad publicity.
we'll
is
fail
what I'm saying.
upwards. So yeah, I think the first obvious question that I have for you guys is shouldn't they use a robot to do this kind of? It seems really dangerous to have someone, even in protective gear, inside a testing chamber, which could be saturated with radiation or chemicals or giant lasers. That seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, I would think they could get a robot cart to just do this.
Yeah, I was about to say this is a rather elaborate setup they have here. You would think they would. Maybe the robot was out of order and they had to have Gordon Freeman come in and push the cart himself.
Dude, just fucking duct tape the thing to a Roomba.
Yeah, just have it
do that.
What's the tow rating on a Roomba? We're gonna find out.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So yeah, the game starts off with a bang, literally, because it goes horribly wrong.
That's gone poorly.
Yeah, I'm not a nuclear scientist or anything like that, but the equipment emitting giant rays of visible, energy is probably not a good thing.
No,
Generally
no.
not a good thing, yeah.
Also, the chamber seems to be saturated with this weird green gas, which I assume is just regular smoke but tinted green, but I have no idea.
I mean, this stuff just happens at Led Zeppelin concerts.
This appears to be some kind of large what are those the things that the Sharper Image or some similar mall store like that where you can it's a glass bowl.
Oh, I know
And then,
exactly. And you
and you
touch
have,
your finger to the glass and the
Yeah,
light goes.
Yes.
yeah, that's what it
Whatever
looks
that's-
like.
Oh, those
Gordon-
plasma balls. Yeah.
Gordon tried that and it didn't work as well as he had hoped.
So what has happened is basically, throughout the chapter 2, they drop a little couple of hints as to what exactly is going on here. There's some weird crystal that they found, a very not dangerous, but a very unusual specimen, and they were, get this guys, going to violate safety standards to run the equipment above capacity.
What? In a government facility?
I mean,
That's crazy.
am I off base? Does this happen? In government testing facilities? Does OSHA know?
I would
about this?
Yes.
Yeah, I would
Yes.
think more likely
They're shot when they when OSHA gets to the front gate of Nellis, as an example. They're just shot.
There's a field out back that's called the OSHA field where they bury all of them.
No.
I don't know how they regulate safety at secret military government installations. Is there an OSHA guy who comes in and has a security clearance? Do you need a security clearance to work at OSHA?
Is he an on-site OSHA guy? Maybe he just lives there.
The implication,
Yeah, or it's
His
like
cure-
the implication is that most of the people who live in Black Mesa can't really regularly leave. So yeah, I assume there's probably an on-site OSHA guy. He's probably immediately killed, which is why the government doesn't we'll talk about the government, but it's not good, folks. And Gordon is of course suspiciously knocked unconscious by this giant eruption. And this is just a picture of the testing facility. You can see that they actually do have something that almost looks like a robot, but I think Justin's theory is correct, and the robot just isn't working. So they open the clutch and
So
they
this
just
is
have
what we get.
yeah have to manually push it. It's worth mentioning, and this is something that I think is pretty interesting, is that Black Mesa is built, generally speaking, inside decommissioned Cold War era facilities. And I don't know about the US government's policy on reusing these facilities, but I would hazard a guess that it's probably not the safest thing to do.
those things are built pretty solidly, all things considered. They were, designed to withstand direct nuclear hits. You can sometimes find some of them on real estate listings because most of the ICBM silos are not in use anymore. Because
you can just live in half of them, like out in Kansas. I will say, I believe the United States military was going to. We had a military base built into the side of a mountain, called Cheyenne Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
That's still there.
Did they decommission it? I thought they had as part of as part of BRAC.
I don't think so. I think it's still around. I think the only thing that's different is it used to be very, very secret, and now everyone knows about it.
Right.
That seems to be the way with a lot of secret facilities. They get like discovered once, and then they become tourist destinations.
It's funny how that works.
So Gordon is knocked out. When he comes to, the facility is a mess. Basically, everyone is running around panicked. Kind of crazy. There are random explosions going off, pipes bursting, and it's very clear that A, everything has gone wrong, and B, no one really knows what the procedure is for a random explosion of the crystal, because no one was expecting it, although more on that later. I don't know what it's like in America, but in South Africa, our safety protocols are usually like, okay, well, don't panic, go to the assigned, evacuation point, so on and so forth. I presume they don't teach Americans how to like deal with aliens, in the safety briefs.
In a facility like this that's working with like high energy lasers and crap, you would at least have a rehearsed system of evacuation.
Right.
People proceed to the muster points and evacuate the building or something of that nature. Although I also don't know what their ability to evacuate is or how they evacuate from what's presumably a missile silo in the middle of goddamn nowhere.
It's in New Mexico, actually.
New Mexico. Well, you have to get someone to come in with buses,
Oh, that is one slow evad. System, but I'm going to assume it doesn't really go anywhere.
Isn't there like a train system there? Yeah, maybe that would work.
One of the more
if anyone eats on my bus, we're turning this evacuation around right now.
One of the more unrealistic parts.
Yes, inside the vehicle at all times.
One of the more unrealistic parts about this game is that there is like working transit, mass transit, American video game. And it's not immediately like privatized and sold off to like, I don't know. And there's no like Elon Musk character who shows up and like, get rid of your train, install like a Hyperloop or whatever, Here we are looking at a picture. I wonder if you guys can tell me, what do you think doesn't actually belong here?
So there's a pallet obstructing the means of egress. This is probably not a huge deal unless this is a fairly high capacity corridor, which I guess it's not because there's only a single door at the end. I guess they're not expecting a lot of people to try and move this way, but I don't think you should be storing stuff in hallways in general, right?
Also, a section of the roof is missing.
Yeah, they're missing some acoustic panels there. That maybe they might have those out for like maintenance or something. If it's Cold War era, these may be asbestos, and that's a problem. These tiles, I would imagine, probably also fairly likely to be asbestos if they're of that era. So you got to check. I think it's the 9-inch tiles are usually asbestos.
Now it makes sense why they give everyone power armor, because it's just full of asbestos.
As long as you're not touching it or working, even if you're touching it, if you're not like actively working on it, you're fine.
Well,
I just love the idea that Gordon Freeman's power armor is just like an asbestos filter.
I think they just triggered this disaster because they wanted to like close the facility, but weren't willing to go through with the abatement.
This was all just the tax fraud that went really, really wrong.
Barring various issues with safety capacity, missing panels, there are two like what look like rotisserie chickens that have been undercooked with weird antennae, or like
spoiler alert, they're headcrabs.
Yes,
they're my babies. I love them.
Headcrabs
so adorable.
I used to have a stuffed headcrab, actually.
Really? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I bought it from the Valve store many years ago.
Wow, that's actually pretty cool. Did you hide it around the house and like spook
Yes,
people?
I did.
Ah,
Yes, I did.
yes. That's such a good use of
Well,
a
just-
stuffed headcrab.
Just slap me on a sandwich with some peanut butter because I am jelly.
So, it turns out that randomly shooting lasers into crystals is actually not really scientific, but it's also not very safe. Because,
Who knew?
you know, the funny thing is,
First time for everything, you know?
I just that's fucking hilarious.
the funny thing is,
This wizard shit isn't scientific, Jeffrey.
the funny thing is, Gordon Freeman's PhD thesis actually basically is about shooting lasers into crystals, which I thought was like a really funny joke. But yeah, anyway. So another unintended side effect of shooting lasers into a crystal is that it opened an interdimensional portal. So,
Whoops.
Liam, you mentioned the word resonance cascade. Would you care to explain it to the audience as to what that is?
Jesus Christ, man, it's been so long since I played Half-Life. All I remember is that they open a portal to Zen. The crystal explodes, and then things start transporting in from Zen.
Right. So it turns out that the experiment that they were
That
doing.
John Stewart's moment is then.
No, these are not. Are they? These aliens are unfunny like John Stewart, but unlike John Stewart, they're 9 feet tall and they're gonna whoop your ass.
Wow.
John
John Stewart taking a surprising beating in this podcast.
Yeah.
If he wants to fight, I'm sure Justin is available in the parking lot outside of wherever he's recording.
In that McDonald's parking lot, he went on a spirit quest in.
Yeah. If you're not fighting
Did
John
we
Stewart.
say that? Wait, did we say that on the show or before the show?
You said that before the show.
Oh shit! I'm sorry, everyone. We'll never explain this.
Yeah, they
Moving swiftly on.
if they want to find out, they have to subscribe to the Patreon.
Yeah, that's special Patreon content.
That's
Wink.
good marketing.
So,
Yes.
it turns out that the Resonance Cascade actually is a trans-dimensional portal event where portals from another dimension called Zen, which is described as a quote-unquote border world, which I'm just assuming is like, I don't know, a place where there's like a lot of alien ice, which is
Oh,
not strictly, inaccurate. And a bunch of aliens pop up. And it's not a good time for the scientists, most of whom are nerds, who don't have any
Yeah, they get
Later, those ladders should be caged.
yeah, that's going very poorly.
And
Yeah.
also, Einstein over
Tie
here.
off, man.
Yeah, you probably do need to be tied off to work in a sort of area with fall hazards like that. Yeah, but again, this could be alleviated with caged ladders. That would be the easiest thing to do. Another thing we could do, of course, is if you don't. I don't know what they need. Is this an elevator shaft?
Yes.
I mean, what is it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it is an elevator shaft. Look, Black
In which case,
Mesa
I don't know why they have.
the most.
Why do they have the ladders at all? You shouldn't need to access it in that fashion.
Callum can talk a little bit about that in a second, but I just wanted to mention that Black Mesa is probably not ADA compliant, which is, that's their worst crime probably.
Yeah.
So Callum, you wanted to talk about like how this game was made, right? Like, because there are like, as we're noticing, there are lots of problems with the way that Black Mesa looks in terms of like, there are random ladders, that are not tied, caged off. There are elevator shafts that are strangely, easy to fall down. There are, weird pallets and stuff like that that are just left attended. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the way in which Half-Life was actually made? Because I feel like that would be very informative to understanding why these choices were made.
Okay, well, as we mentioned earlier in the video, Half-Life was initially meant to be like a fancy Quake Turtle conversion, and it was supposed to be released about a year before it was actually released. But when they, took a look at the game, they thought it wasn't fun or interesting, so they decided to rebuild it from the ground up. And we might go into this a bit later, but they used a Cabal process, which is where They basically organized key people from around the studio into teams, and then just started swapping those people in and out and making smaller teams and so on. And everyone got to put forward an idea. And if people liked it enough, they just started working on it. And this got to the point where everything from the original game that they liked was trying to be implemented, but oftentimes they would just, pick the implementation over the actual thing because it ended up being more fun. And that was basically the attitude for all the levels in Half-Life, is to build it to be fun rather than, sensical.
Yeah.
So this... Sorry?
I was just going to say, well, you see, a Cabal process in Valve is not where they all, get a bunch of candles and form a ritual circle.
Well, we don't know that. You can't make assumptions like that.
As a member of the Jewish Cabal, I will say we have done away with the candles for any number of years, but I respect different Cabal's implementations. Yeah, the app never worked. You still gotta get on the phone with Soros or whoever to get your paychecks. And really, we were promised sort of a one-step solution and didn't get it.
They should have just implemented it as just have a secret feature in Waze.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I see you've entered Cabal mode. It takes you to the nearest mansion.
Something.
Well, that's a lot better than taking you directly into a ditch.
Yeah.
To be fair, we didn't go directly into the ditch.
Yeah,
we just went. We took the long way to get into the ditch, which is almost more insulting.
You just have to draw a pentagram on a satellite map, and an eye in space beams down a tractor beam.
Just melts down the road for you.
Yes.
So, Callum, brought this up, and I think it's very important. These guys, they were just, dudes and gals, and I assume maybe end pals, who were just chilling out. They were trying to make things that were fun. So, in this part of the game, actually, is one of the more memorable sequences where you are climbing up this elevator shaft, and the scientist is begging for his life, asking you to do something about it. But the minute you get up there, he just lets go. He just decides, well, I guess that's it. Time to fall to my death.
I'm not talking to the new guy. Fuck that.
Fuck that, yeah.
If we talk, we'll have to talk more at the Christmas party. Ugh.
Yeah, he's
death is preferable to that. See ya.
He's like, screw this, I've got tenure. So yeah,
Yeah, but this particular moment was probably made to show you oh, hey, there's a lot of ladders over here, and also introduce the scientist character that you can't save no matter what, which creates tension.
Yeah, it's hey, these are real people, we're gonna lose them, and also, I think the other thing is to introduce platforming as a whole, because Half-Life is so it straddles the line between FPS games that are just all about shooting, and early games which had to have more arcadey elements. So Half-Life does have first-person platforming, which is probably one of the weaker parts of the game. If you've ever tried,
it's one of the weaker parts of existence.
Ooh, yeah. Trying to land it's pixel perfect on a narrow beam in first person is just a pain. It's a pain in the ass.
Because you can't see your feet. So you are essentially piloting a square man.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Oh my god, I never thought of that.
So, Justin, I mean, they've got the barrels of presumably flammable material in the safety zone. That's what I assume those black.
Oh, that's bad. That's bad.
Yeah, this is not that should not be. I don't think those should be stored right there. Again, that is blocking means of egress for a lot of that room.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you shouldn't put a barrel of flammable material right next to a sign like that. You could obstruct it. That's probably bad as well.
Oh yeah, there is another one back in the hallway there. That is very bad. I would, if I were some kind of safety inspector, I'd be very angry. I mean, these are also easily correctable problems. I think you could probably put the flammables up against the wall, and that would solve the problem.
I think this just proves your theory that the whole Black Mesa Resonance Cascade was just literally an attempt to clear out the facility so they could get contractors inside to pass the safety, fudge the safety inspections.
Part it out, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on. But you will notice that besides that, there is something that's very, very unusual, and that is, of course, those random boxes in the corner. What are they? Why are they there? Why can't you break them with a crowbar? Questions that science still can't answer. But no, I mean, of course, the dead scientist and the weird things on the right. Those are turrets. Don't ask me how the US government managed to invent semi-autonomous gun turrets in the early 2000s. But they did.
Well, it's just it's so fucking fitting that sentient gun turrets were up higher up on the list than robot assistant to put crystal in thing.
Yeah,
well, I think you should probably not have these turrets in the same room that you're storing flammable liquids.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty easy oversight.
Yeah,
Well,
I
maybe
feel
this
like
was
this
the
is a
storage
fairly
room.
this is a fairly obvious one. I feel like, you know, you could put the auto turret somewhere like near the way you get in the room where you store the flammable liquids. If they're particularly valuable flammable liquids you want to keep people from stealing. But like if it accidentally shoots those barrels, that's a bad thing.
yeah, because they'll obviously explode. You know, that's how physics works.
Yes.
What like? Okay, so
They could be worse. They might not explode. They might just leak everywhere and then catch fire.
It's going to be even worse. You
Yeah.
imagine having to clean that up in the middle of an alien invasion.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to imagine like the janitor who's like, I hate Mondays.
What fluids do I have to clean out of whose orifices this time?
Yeah, you know, the blood is mixing with the oil. It's just, I don't even know if blood is like, soluble in oil. Does blood even mix with oil? I don't know. I mean,
I would say maybe.
maybe.
well, it depends how much cholesterol the person had.
Yes.
So what is happening is that instead of doing any kind of reasonable safety procedure, basically the couple of guards that are in Black Mesa, because you see them, they have these dopey-looking blue uniforms with these like really ridiculous helmets. They get immediately overwhelmed by all of the aliens because they're just armed with pistols. Pistols aren't going to do that much against like aliens that can shoot lasers from their hands.
Although I do have to say they are ridiculously overconfident about how much they like. I remember running into a guard in the minutes I've played of Half-Life who's just like, hell yeah, we can do this. And it's like, settle down, champ.
Probably not, guy.
You know, he really had his coffee that morning.
Yeah.
So
Definitely a red
I
by
have a-
guys with pistols. You know?
yeah,
I mean, I can barely like walk into the subway without seeing people with
A
ARs.
more optimal type of alien invasion.
Yes.
yeah. I'm just trying to imagine like aliens trying to get in on the subway.
Hello.
Hello?
Oh.
This is
Oh.
Amelia.
Oh, hi.
What?
Did we all just lose signal?
Hi, Emilio.
Did we?
You came in all at once.
Oh no. Do you want to just?
Quote that out of context.
Do you just want to pick that up again? Justin, you were saying something about the subway.
Oh, I was saying, you know, there's people like the subway cops have ARs. Like you would figure they would give the people, you know, guarding the secret military base something more than pistols.
You're kidding,
You
right?
think?
Well, I mean,
Right?
it's entirely possible that they did because you just keep finding random weapons everywhere.
Wait, no, you're
It would
kidding.
make sense. Yeah.
Maybe the weapons room got exploded too.
You're kidding about the subway guards having ARs. Like, what? Why would?
No.
What?
Like,
Yeah, we live in America, man.
yeah, this is America. You need the subway cops to have ARs. Not so much in Philly. Definitely in Washington D.C.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Those guys are scary.
That's insane.
Yeah, have you ever seen a Transformers movie? They're gonna turn the trains into robots, Emilio.
Yeah, I mean, geez, that's crazy. But anyway, as I was saying, Gordon, literally, as the only person wearing the power armor suit, Gordon is tasked with going to the surface to basically call for help because none of the redundancies in the system in the facility seems to actually be working. They can't send out a distress call for some reason, and the plan is to literally send in the geek, with glasses and bad eyesight to go to rescue everyone. And it turns out that there's actually a little bit of a problem. It turns out that the government actually knows Oh no, the government has known all along. And so that brings us to chapter 5, which is personally one of my favorite chapters, and it's called We've Got Hostiles. So, Justin, Liam,
Oh, this is a good one.
let me ask you this: if you found out tomorrow that, like, I don't know, what would be a good example? Does Drexel University have like a really good science department?
Not anymore.
No, they got rid of that. They had to expand the business school.
Ah, boo. Okay, let's see. What would be the next best thing? Let's say,
The last science department opened a portal to hell, and then they had to deal with that whole thing.
yeah, your local McDonald's or whatever, right? If they somehow accidentally opened a portal to, an alien world, what do you think the government would do?
Kill everyone who saw it.
Stranger Things, the Stranger Things method.
Justin, what about you? Is there like? I mean, there's a space force.
We have enough state capacity. I don't think we have enough state capacity to actually kill everyone who saw it. I think they just sort of like try and make an effort to kill everyone who saw it, but not really succeed.
I'm just imagining
U.S. government way, baby.
I'm just imagining like overpaid, like Blackwater contractor or something who's just like gunning down scientists like super casually. It's like, how long is this taking? He's
checking his.
There are so many of them.
Yeah, his heart's not in it. Like outsourcing, guys. Yeah. It's the death of America.
He just wants to go home.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this would be the 40th Street McDonald's. So there's a lot of people around there.
Oh, that's a hell of a McDonald's too. Yeah.
I
think that might already be a portal to another dimension. I've been there at 3 a.m.
That's a good point, yeah.
Just like waves his hands and call out, "Can you form an orderly line? I want to get home and play Nintendo."
Yeah, he
just
gunned down. Guys just gunning down a bunch of elderly men playing chess.
So it's kind of like that in that the government sends in, rather than sending like, I don't know, the National Guard or FEMA. Like FEMA's the guys you send in, right? Does FEMA
or a Nest team or someone?
Does FEMA have an alien mandate? I don't know.
They probably do. They probably do. Yeah. Honestly,
so probably like generalized mass casualty event procedures could be used for an alien invasion.
So
I mean, if this isn't invasion, you could probably make a case that it's also illegal immigration. So they could send ICE in.
Oh yeah, they could send in Customs and Border Patrol. Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, so they send in, rather than sending in any actual government agency, they send in something called the HECU, or the Hazardous Environment Combat Unit, which proceed to immediately murder all of the scientists. Actually, they're really introduced in a very good way. Callum, did you make it to that part of the game?
No, but I know it well.
Yeah. So what happens is, you're like, hey, you're meeting a scientist as you get close to the surface, and he's like, hey, the government is here. They're here to save us. And he immediately walks into a government squad who just immediately gun him down.
Oh yeah.
And then they scream nerd and high five a bunch.
Yeah. They took that out of the Black Mesa remake, which is unfortunate. That's
it's weird. It's such a great character building moment, especially when they give Gordon a wedgie.
So the government sends in a combat unit who are there to kill all of the scientists. They're not here to evacuate anyone. They're not here to do anything. They actually, for the most part, typical government, they spend more time killing the scientists than they do really combating the aliens. Which is really funny to me.
Well, I mean, it's easy points.
Yeah, I mean...
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta get that quota up, baby.
You gotta grind. You gotta grind for that XP.
You're just filling out the work order at this point. It's like, we had to fire a certain amount of bullets today.
Yeah, that's true. You actually start getting a lot more weapons at this point. So, like, you get the MP5, which is modeled in its glorious, blocky, low res.
Oh yes.
The bullets are so low res, you can even see the primer is like off center, and the casing isn't even round. It's like a weird a pentagon. I'm gonna say it
looks like a pentagon to me.
It's a pentagon.
But you see, that's thematic because this is secret government stuff.
Yeah, the government MP5s use pentagonal bullets.
Yeah, that's like what, like 20 polygons max.
So yeah, the HECU, they're there to kill people. Gordon is, things are not looking good for everyone. This is also one of my favorite moments.
The fucking angles on these photos are great because this looks like a prank. It looks like the scientist is like
turn it down. Turn it down.
You can't burn it down. It's made of asbestos.
I said turn it down.
Like turn it down.
Like turn the volume knob down.
No, the volume knob is also made of asbestos.
He's distracting the security guard so that his friend.
You're just not hip, old man.
Yeah, the reason why none of the guards have any of the guns is because they were all in the places the doors have like asbestos locks and they couldn't get them open.
Well, also because they keep putting guns on the opposite side of the room instead of holding them.
Something that's always bothered me, Justin, maybe you'll know about this, but are vents actually supposed to be that? Vents are never that big in real life, right? They're not.
Yeah, I mean. It depends a lot on what the what kind of vent it is, right? Because you'll have the fact that this is on a wall is very confusing to me.
It's at head height.
It's at head height, yeah. And you would think, I mean, they probably had to retrofit some kind of HVAC system in there, so maybe they just squeezed it in wherever it could fit. I would expect maybe that vent I would guess is for forced air in. Mm-hmm. But it's not, or it could be. I mean, it's certainly not. I'm a little bit confused by it because it doesn't have a diffuser or anything on there. It just has louvers, which I don't know.
I think maybe we're looking at this wrong. Instead of it being a vent for like air or whatever, I think that's just the way you get into the security office when the door is jammed. Because
that could be the case. Yeah,
it's just like the emergency security exit. Like, oh, the door's jammed. Better crawl through the vents. Pictured here is a Headcrabs zombie.
They let the nerds design this one.
Yeah. So what you can see in the background is a Headcrab zombie. They're one of the more iconic enemies of the series. Basically, those Headcrabs that Liam pointed out earlier, they do this terrible thing where they like to jump on people's heads and puppet the body like a zombie organism, which is
they are an incredible, just like a wonderful metaphor for STDs.
Yeah, it's a wait, what?
Because they're crabs.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, but like,
it's true.
Man, I served this to you on a silver platter with butter sauce. I need you to eat it.
Please don't bring butter sauce into discussions about STIs, Callum. Ugh.
I was playing on the crabs thing, but okay.
And I think it's lobsters that typically get eaten with crabs. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think people eat crabs with butter. Do they?
Well,
I've never been to the South.
You destroyed that sentence, but okay.
You're supposed to serve crabs with Old Bay.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So, Gordon basically spends this entire time just killing the government agents and also killing the aliens, and it's at this moment in time where he realizes essentially that he can't really fix this situation by just killing everyone. More aliens keep pouring into the facility. Despite the fact that the government guys are completely ineffectual, they keep sending more of them down there. There's like a dispatcher who's like, yeah, well, I guess we lost like squad 30, better send in squad 31. And, like some guys just like, I got pulled out of the reserves for this, And we get to my second.
I just want to go home.
we get to my second favorite chapter, which is Blast Pit, and I bet you'll see why, which is big giant reactors.
That is not OSHA.
I to this day I still have no idea how this nerd managed to get on top of this massive like. I assume it's a reactor. I have no idea what this thing is. Justin, any ideas?
Well, I mean he climbed up the ladder on the side and then walked across the beam.
But how did he get into the room, Callum? There's like so much radiation. He's not wearing a HEV suit.
Well, that doesn't seem to fucking matter in this building.
No. The laws of physics drift in and out of relevancy.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of like, what's it, cream soda at the bottom of that pit.
I was about to say, it appears to be some kind of green liquid of some
Or
kind.
maybe it's Jello.
Maybe it's like could be Jello. Yeah.
This is the Jello silo in Black Mesa. That thing is not actually a reactor. It's just a it's a Jello dispenser.
It's a mixer.
Yeah.
Again, these ladders should be caged. These platforms onto.
There's
have
no
handrails.
railings. Yeah, there's no railings. Like, how many times
Yeah.
did I fall off these platforms because I was like shooting at the enemies, and I would just like run off the edge because there's no railing. Like that's a mess.
That is definitely, there should be a railing, I believe, at 48 inches around anything which has a fall of more than 4 feet.
That's definitely more
Maybe
than 4
3 feet. I don't remember the regulation offhand.
So,
I have to go into international building code.
what do the international building codes say about giant alien tentacles coming in your silos?
I would have to look that up.
I believe that okay, I forgot what I was gonna say, but in essence, it was a hentai joke.
Oh, thank you.
The viewers at home can fill the gaps in, I'm sure.
Yeah,
So you got to
imagine
look
what-
in the Japanese building code for that.
Yeah,
Oh,
just watch through all of our previous videos and imagine what I would say about hentai.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Before you give those videos a dislike, please give them a chance. So last
You
bit.
know what? If you really want to teach me a lesson, subscribe to us because I want this channel to fail.
So boss pit is an unusual sort of level because it actually has a boss fight, and that is this giant horrific thing, which is basically just called the tentacles. As you're making your way through the facility, Gordon has to get to a place called Lambda Complex, which is apparently where a bunch of scientists are all holed up, and they're trying to do stuff. And you don't actually really spend a lot of time fighting any human enemies here. Primarily, you fight aliens. And the climax of this episode is fighting this tentacle thing, which is in an old rocket silo. Don't ask me how it got there. I assume it just sort of teleported its way inside. And it's basically a puzzle boss. Remember those guys? Remember when you had to, like, do a bunch of arbitrary things to defeat the boss, which was invulnerable to all of your bullets?
No.
So yeah, this tentacle thing is blocking your way, and you can't damage it. Like, no matter what you do, your high caliber ammunition just doesn't do anything to it. So what you have to do, and get this is going to sound strange, but you have to kickstart a rocket engine.
oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, I feel like there were other steps that people could have tried. Like, I don't know, maybe like throwing a grenade down that hole. Maybe that would have killed it. I don't know.
I love that the first resort is just like, got it. Rocket launch.
You could tell.
I mean, there's a rocket right. There's a rocket right there. Are you not gonna use it?
That's true. That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's like if you're in a museum and you're given the opportunity to fight someone with a sword.
yeah, you got to
You're gonna take it.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah,
take it.
you
Yeah,
have to. That's
yeah.
it's non-negotiable.
So the way that you fight this boss is you'll notice, again, a lack of handrails, but in this case it actually comes in handy because you have to navigate around the silo, reactivating the oxygen, the fuel, the power so that you can kickstart the engine. And without the railings, it's really easy to go around because you just literally just jump off, whichever floor that you're on and, try to get to, some doors. Although those ladders should have cages. I don't know. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, those should also be caged ladders, especially with the lack of handrails. I think if there were handrails there, you wouldn't need the cages, right? So overall, there's a lot of this which is not code compliant, but because the ladder is fairly short, it does not need to be caged.
Yes.
You know what I've just noticed is that this hole doesn't seem to have a lid.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Like any kind of door frame.
Well,
Yeah, that's a good point. It's
This is
directly
just infinite ladders.
it's directly under like a rocket, so I assume that's like an exhaust, but I think you'd still want that to be covered.
It should still
Yeah.
have like a trap door kind of thing, right? It should be sealed so that people don't fall into it or tentacles don't come up through it.
Yeah, something else that I've always wondered is why can't they just like close the door and like cut the tentacles off? I assume that would do it. If the door is meant to withstand like a rocket launch, surely it can, slice some tentacles.
Or just don't come into this room.
Well, I would guess that's to redirect the rocket exhaust. So it might not. You probably don't have a reason to have a door there. You do have reason to have railings around it, though.
True.
So someone might fall in.
I think that the tentacles are probably OSHA compliant. They would have like kept to the railings. They wouldn't have gone over and like done something reckless. They needed to remove those so the tentacles would attack you. Okay.
Yeah, I think giant tentacles might come under like fishery regulations or something. It's the closest thing, the closest
Big fish in
regulatory. Yeah, closest regulatory thing I think might be regulated similar to giant tentacles would be octopuses. So
this
I don't know much about octopus regulations.
Blast Pit is also one of the more egregious violations, I would argue, in terms of engineering problems, because like, look at this. This is just a literal waterfall of toxic sludge or Fanta or whatever. That's
it's got to go somewhere. It's got to go somewhere.
This fucking ocean of pineapple Fanta.
Like,
yeah.
Look at it. There's like random, like that pipe has like a random vent. You can see there's a valve on that pipe, which I presume opens it, but it's also like weirdly open in the back. Where does this river flow to? Where does it come from?
There is no possible way to get to this valve.
Yeah. You have to go inside the pipe.
All of this toxic waste is being aerosolized and just sort of probably floating into the air system, right? If there's a return vent in there somewhere, it's almost certainly being redistributed through the building in aerosol form. So everyone in the building is inhaling this from this waterfall of toxic sludge.
Okay, another conspiracy.
Maybe that's why they're not allowed to leave.
I guess so, yeah.
I was going to say another conspiracy. Black Mesa, the whole thing didn't happen. Everyone is just dying of like toxic fume poisoning, and this is their like dying dream.
It's the gas leak year from Community.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like this makes no sense. Why is there a valve on top of a pipe that clearly can't be reached except by going through the pipe? Where are these rivers flowing? Why is there this weird silo? It doesn't really make any sense. Like, look at this. Justin, you talked about improper crate storage. Look at this. The crates are stored in the toxic waste.
Oh, come on.
Probably not a good place to put those, yeah.
Well, the one's not having a good time, but the other ones seem to be holding up all right.
I mean, like, again, are we certain this is toxic waste and not just like
Fanta?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if
that soda from Futurama.
Yeah, Slurm.
Slurm.
But Slurm is basically toxic waste in Futurama.
This is a good point, yeah.
I mean, they'd still need a silo. I was about to say silo of Slurm to process it. In the background, you can see one of the enemies, which I quite like, something called a bull squid, which is basically a squid with legs. Fun fact about the bull squids: the game actually implements like smell. So if the bull squid and the headcrabs are natural enemies. The bull squid and some of the other creatures, I think, are natural enemies, so they will always attack each other if they can. But if the bull squid hits you, you will have, for a very brief couple of seconds, a smell indicator that will direct zombies towards you. The first Half-Life has a lot of weird, like, specific mechanics that you'll never really notice, because you're just blasting, your way through, and platforming on toxic barrels of sludge, or, crates that are just randomly floating. I also
while we're bringing up interesting things, the second enemy you meet after the headcrabs, that like dog that's
the hound eyes.
Yeah, those are actually supposed to be friendlies.
Really?
In the first iteration of the game, yeah, they're supposed to help you out, but Valve changed that because every player's first instinct when they saw that thing was to shoot it.
I wonder why.
Yeah. Gee, who knows?
It's just, it's just got like no discernible face. It makes weird alien noises. Who wouldn't shoot it? Or maybe all the playtesters were American and they're just like, they have to start blasting.
Well, that's not too far from the truth because Sierra like sourced it from people who sent in game registration codes, so it probably had to be local.
Yeah, that's true. That's true as well. Also, notice on the right-hand side, there is just a segment of the pipe that is just open with... I don't know why that's there. This makes no sense. Anyway, moving on.
That's not good.
Yeah,
What is even happening here?
guys,
This is
you shouldn't
dear.
store.
this is a modern
Don't
retelling
take
of
naps
Hamlet.
here. Don't take naps here.
Don't store your
Yeah, not
your
good.
45 Magnum unholstered. Like that's bad.
You know it. You know the toxic waste is bad when it melts the logo.
Yeah. It also has some errors in the UV mapping there, it looks like.
Or maybe your theory about it becoming aerosolized is correct.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to the Black Mesa is a tragedy for a lot of reasons. Something that is brought up a lot about the game is like oftentimes you'll just find corpses, usually with loot, like this Magnum revolver, which is one of the more powerful guns, which you'll never use because like you get so little ammo for it. So you're like, oh well, I get so little ammo for it, I better save it up. But then you always save it up and you never use it because the shotgun is just just always better, or something like that.
But what if I need it later?
Yeah, it's like, do you guys ever play like RPGs where you find like potions and it's like this is the super secret good potion and they're like I will save it for later, but you never use it. I hate that.
You never use it, yeah.
I think that you should just give people like less good stuff so they use it more often. Because if someone never uses the thing, it's as if they never got it in the first place, you know?
Or like, don't make it super powerful and then make it more frequent. Just make it cool.
Yes, that's true.
Because do you know how far I've gone out of my way in like every Assassin's Creed game to get the best armor? And it's not because I care about armor, it's because it is the best looking costume most of the time.
There you go.
It's the classic Ubisoft design. They gate the good stuff at the end.
I mean, yeah, dude, I'll go around the world for that drip.
I also want to direct your attention to the security guard. He's clearly dead. I don't know if the implication here is that he shot himself,
Maybe he was just snapping.
or that he died because of he decided to camp out next to the radiation.
He tripped over the barrel and he just like knocked himself out, and the toxic slurm did all the rest.
But Callum, how did his gun get out of its holster?
I mean, who knows?
I find it also funny that there's just like a box of ammunition just like right next to the revolver as well. So like he was clearly prepared. He was clearly ready, and that he just like he suffered.
Oh wait, no, I've got it. He was trying to like reload his gun, but he wasn't sure, so he was reading the instructions on the ammunition box, and then he trips over the barrel and he drops both, and he slips on the toxic waste and like bangs his head, and he's too embarrassed to get up now, so he just lets Gordon like loot him.
Oh yeah, this happened just before Gordon gets there, so he's pretending to be dead.
Yeah, he's just like, oh no, I'm so dead. What a tragedy. Tell them I died like a hero.
Speaking of heroes, we get to chapter 7, which is the second last chapter that I want to talk about. Don't worry, we're not going through all of the chapters. So chapter 7 is, Gordon has dealt with the tentacle, you're hiding Rye, you're the big man on campus. At this point, the game throws in a couple of things. Another puzzle boss, and this is going to be relevant later.
He's dead.
May.
Emilio.
Oh no.
Hello?
He's the podcast. You died for a second there.
Oh no.
This is my podcast now. Welcome back to Byte Marx. I'm Emilio, and also Callum.
Oh no.
Oh no.
We've been alluding to a coup for like 5 episodes now, and it finally happened.
It's Liam, baby.
Okay, we gotta
Now
make
this is
merch
the
now.
Pokemon channel.
We gotta make merch now
Shit.
of it's Liam, baby, and it's just Liam's face, like in the Big Brother, like
Oh, I
Mussolini.
buy that.
Well, if I can have design input, I want Liam like with a flag standing on top of us in like a corpse pile.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yes, please.
we'll get right on that. So, chapter 7, Power Up, coincidentally, is all about power. Firstly, I don't know much about power generation, but I imagine that like they don't have giant off signs.
Power is all.
I was about to say that is a very very simplistic set of controls there.
Yeah, I do like the 5 speedometers so you can know how fast the electric is going.
I was about to say, yeah, that seems. Also, it seems like the red and the green are swapped here, because you'd think, at some point up in the upper end, you'd be overloading the machine, and to say the needle should not be there.
Yeah, but these are like tricked out like power generators. They've got spoilers on them. you optimize these babies for speed.
This is the greased lightning of power generators.
What kind of power generator is it?
Cool kind.
Yeah, it generates.
It's cool kind of power generator.
That doesn't work.
It generates electricity from cool.
Yeah, it's AC,
Yeah,
which is
why we can't ever get it to work.
That's what all that green stuff was. It was liquid cool.
It's
You put a Chad in one end and it sucks the cool out. It comes at the other end, the virgin.
Yeah, it's AC for always cool, or maybe always Chad.
Alpha Chad.
This is what Nikola Tesla was working on before the government silenced him. So he
was harnessing the Chad powers.
You might be wondering
the secret plan to turn everyone in the world into a nerd.
You might be wondering why is this relevant? Well, oops, giant alien. So
big bad beetle Borg.
So I don't know about engineering standards. I feel like a bipedal autonomous alien walker is probably like maybe there are some safety violations over here. It doesn't look like it has like hands. It looks like it has like plasma cannons, which is probably not the most safe thing in the world. I'm alive. The CIA didn't get me.
Hey, the CIA coup failed.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. The CIA must have hit me with the disable your internet gun.
It's the same gun they hit me with on our one stream.
Oh my god.
I feel like a disable your internet gun could just be a regular gun, pointing at
just shoot the modem.
Yeah, shoot the modem, yeah.
Oh my god.
Can we leave this part in the podcast?
Yeah, we totally can.
Wait, are you still recording?
Yes. Yeah, I've been recording the whole time. All right, so where was I?
You missed us bonding.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. The spin-off show, well, there's your Byte Marx, won't include me. It's okay.
Well, there's your marks.
All right, so where was I? Giant aliens, yeah. So the aliens teleport in like a creature which is called a gargantua. Not the most originally named creature, but it's a bipedal alien walker. And as you can see here, once again, the useless government is totally inequipped to handle it. Unlike us, small government people who are, lone individuals who will no doubt resolve this issue.
Yes. Your stream is not back up. Yes.
Cool. So, the problem is this alien tank is really, really difficult. I also like the suggestion, the shell casings are just, as big as that guy's head. Which is really funny to me. But yeah, the aliens teleport in this big alien that is unkillable by regular means. I think in Black Mesa you can actually kill it, but it'll take all your ammo, which is weird. But the way the game wants you to deal with it is with electricity. So, I don't Justin, you can, talk about this, but I don't think just transformers don't work like that. The way that you're supposed to kill it is by having it run through somehow some transformers and get shocked to death and turn into giblets. But I don't think that's how electricity works.
I mean, but this is in modern games too. This exact thing happens in Fallout 4.
Oh, it does.
With rad roaches, where you're walking through the generator and just zaps one.
It's just a giant Tesla coil, pair of Tesla coils just sitting out there for no reason. I mean, it's not the world's most common electrical equipment, I gotta say. I mean, usually you try and avoid having electricity just arc in the open air. That's something which usually is an indicator that something has gone wrong with a transformer,
also,
rather than being ordinary operation.
Also, I like how there are rails, but there are barbed wire around the Tesla coil.
We really don't want people. People have been climbing into this since they were built, and we're just sick of it. Stop kissing underneath the Tesla coils.
Also, you're not that far away from the Tesla coils. I like how, like, somehow the alien is able to, like, walk into it and die, but, like, you just literally the same distance away are completely unaffected when you hit that on switch. So that's amazing.
Well, I imagine the Ark wants to go from one Tesla coil to another rather than, just latch on to any living thing,
Yeah, but
you are also like a walking pile of metal.
Gordon is wearing the
This is
HEV
true.
suit, which is basically metal. There's actually
That might
chainmail.
also act as that could act as like a Faraday cage. You might be fine.
Well,
True.
I know you can't actually die from electricity in this game, so that's actually not necessarily correct. If you walk into
Okay.
exposed wiring or something, the game will take off your health, and if you are low enough health, you'll die. But yeah, that's weird.
Oh, wait. You just reminded me of something. Okay, so pretty early on in the game, a pipe explodes and lasers come out of it because it is a pipe of lasers. Is that
Right.
As one does.
is that a thing? Would that exist?
Well, I mean, that's what a fiber optic cable is.
I was about to bring that up. If you'd said no, I was about to throw that in your face. Damn it!
You foiled.
You've taken my thunder, sir.
I just like the idea, like, oh yeah, back in the old timey laser factory, they just have like these big pipes that are just like sending lasers around the
We
facility.
used to dredge lasers up from the laser well.
Yeah, so you kill the Gargantua, and you get to basically the rest of the facility. You get to Lambda Complex. The government at this point is like, oh boy, we're gonna make like the U.S. government and pull out of Vietnam after ruining the place. And
Yes.
the government basically decides the situation is lost. We gotta nuke them. That's the only way to be sure. And they send in a Black Ops team to plant in a nuke and also kill the other guys.
Okay, so why would they? You know what? Actually, now I was gonna ask why they would like plant the nuke and not just shoot it, but I suppose people would notice.
Also, Justin brought it up. Like, these places were probably built to withstand nukes, but not from the inside.
Yeah, that'd
fair
be
enough.
it'd be relatively difficult, I think, to maybe if you had a bunker buster nuke, right? But it's not something which I think you could do very well with an air burst. Even a ground burst might not do too much to it.
Yeah, so they sent in like these, funnily enough, Black Ops ninjas, literally Black Ops ninjas. When they're introduced, you're like, a guy's like, hey, I'm told to tell you something, and then someone like jumps out of nowhere, shoots them with a silenced pistol, and then like ninja jumps back into the shadows. They're wearing like spy cat suits, which is like really form-fitting for some weird reason.
Yes, it's a rule. Ninjas have to be sexy.
I mean, they kind of have to be, in a game that's
I
like
don't make the rules, Emilio. I just enjoy them.
in a game that's oddly lacking for female characters. Like, I can't recall there ever actually being a female character in the game except for the female ninja. So that's weird.
This was the 90s,
That's it.
Emilio.
That's
Females
one, that's
didn't exist.
sufficient. Yeah, it's one that's sufficient. Maybe they could have a second one, and they could talk about ninja shit, and then they would pass the Bechdel test real easy. And then no one can complain about it.
I can't. You know what? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of female characters around this time in video games were ninjas.
I guess that's a way to add female characters into your game, but also make them non-threatening to your male gamers. Oh, they're like, oh yeah, she's a ninja. She'll wear like this spy cat suit that's really form-fitting. But don't worry, guys, she's not a threat to your masculinity. She's not actually going to be, heaven forbid, like strong and
Oh no,
competent.
she's fed-domming me. I'm being fed-dommed.
So yeah, Gordon fights his way through all of this. He gets, the railway system powered on, which is fun because that's really cool. A rail car with literally no rails, to keep you from falling out of it. And you get to Lambda Complex. Oh, well, you're still on your way to Lambda Complex. You're trying to get to Lambda Complex in like a lot. And you get to this chapter, which is the last chapter that we're going to talk about, which is called residue processing. Now, Justin, would you believe that the government penny pinched when they were making Black Mesa?
That makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, all these things are on shoestring budgets all the time. If it's
Where
not
are the goddamn ladder cages?
Yeah, exactly, right? Well, I mean, the government's sending in their own inspectors to inspect their own work. So, that's...
and they're using notepads and pencils that only know one very loud sound.
Yes.
So, yeah, the Black Mesa is kind of built really cheaply because there are parts of the facility that are abandoned, and we'll talk about that. But, like, in Chapter 10, Residue Processing, we get this really hilarious sequence where Gordon, is thrown into a trash compactor like Star Wars. And this is the trash compactor. And it has a conveniently structured, like, set of boxes for you to escape from.
It also has a hole in the bottom.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, Justin, you do trash compactors like this exist in real life? I think that would be really inefficient.
Well, usually they're made of metal and not concrete. Usually they're like a machine that sits in a room rather than being a whole room.
I see you've never seen Star Wars.
Yes, when we're talking about real life, not Star Wars.
I know.
I mean, they're the same, right?
The funny thing,
Yeah, Justin doesn't know what he's talking
we'll have you guys back on for like when we do the failures of like Death Star engineering. It's just Justin talking like for 40 minutes about why there are no rails on the Death Star.
Really, there's just a lot. There's a lot of negligence in terms of mitigating fall hazards in general.
Yeah. It's funny how
I mean the trash compactor itself here. You can see there's a door up here and then a ledge. Again, there's no railing. This is a particularly hazardous area to be in, right? On account of it being a large room-sized trash compactor.
Yeah,
Which I don't know what the question I have is how do you get the trash out of here after you compact it?
Maybe that's what the hole in the floor is for.
I mean, also,
so.
I
then you have to have a guy working in there, right? And that is the confined space thing. I think at that point, and then you need a specialist to do it rather than just the janitor.
Yeah, they got a guy with a PhD.
And I can see why they need like a gigaplanet-sized power generator now, because there's a billion lights in this room.
Yeah. Plus, you need a massive hydraulic ram because this is such a large area to be compacting, right? And it seems also to me that this is going to, rather than compacting the trash into a easily maneuverable cube, it's going to be sort of a pancake, right? And I don't see how the pancake can fit in the hole in the floor very easily.
All of these problems are just they cut, but the typical government, they cut corners wherever they can.
Yeah,
I question
the weapon is made by the lowest bidder.
I question the need for an on-site trash compactor in the first place. They could just use regular garbage trucks. They can just put all their crap on the curb.
This
and
is
have
New Mexico. Just remember, this is in the middle of the New Mexico
secret
desert.
government installation. Yeah,
Right.
The secret government
they're
trash
putting it up for
trucks.
collection. I do like that.
Listen, they have trash collection at many secret military bases in that area. I assume right there. Well, Area 51 there was some controversy like 2 decades ago. I think that they were burning most of their waste on site and not in a particularly controlled manner.
That's terrible.
And a lot of toxic chemicals got released. So that was a lawsuit a while back where the government was forced to acknowledge that the base existed.
I mean,
I like how that's how it happened too.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. Maybe they used the trash compactor, but then they realized how inefficient it was, and so they started dumping the boxes and whatever into this Shrek snot.
Oh.
So yeah, it's funny that like Black Mesa has these giant vats of slime that are compacted for some reason, and they don't do anything but just compact the slime. Maybe it's Jello. I have no idea. But like Black Mesa is full of these abandoned, like decommissioned, just derelict parts, and when you're on your way, through this part, like this is the most dangerous part of the game because there's no even less, safety regulations. They're just like random conveyor belts and like gears and things like that, and hydraulic presses that you have to navigate for some reason.
Yeah.
It speaks to the old style of video game design where players just have to like be able to navigate these crazy factories because that was a thing that was expected of platformers and stuff like that. But I just love this image because I think it really encapsulates like everything that's wrong with like the engineering of Black Mesa. There's no ventilation in this room.
This probably shouldn't be open air, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I mean those pistons are gonna splash all that Shrek snot everywhere.
Yeah, why are they pistoning the Shrek juice?
This is another good question. I don't know why they're doing it in the first place. I don't know what that's supposed to accomplish.
Maybe it's
if you're trying to agitate it, you would have some kind of circular thing in there, spinning around rather than a piston going up and down. I don't understand it. Maybe I don't know what they're trying to accomplish.
We are all wrong. This isn't a science factory. This is a lemon lime soda factory. And those vats are like the grape barrels that French people used to step in, and it's just crushing lemons and limes.
A foudre.
Sure.
I guess it could be sort of a wine press sort of situation.
That's sort of what I was thinking. Yeah.
The Black Mesa wine press.
This has all just been an elaborate prank that got way out of hand.
The government required Black Mesa to be partially self-funding, so they set up a wine press.
They opened up a winery.
No, they set up a theoretical physics department.
Oh yeah, they started as a winery, but then they we've got all this extra money. Why don't we just do some physics on the side?
We need to pay the bills. What pays the bills better than experimental physics?
Listen, a particle accelerator is basically just a large fermentation tank, right?
So basically, this is the last chapter where things really come to a head. From this point on, you will reach a lambda complex. The scientists were like, "Hey guys, we have to stop the resonance cascade, but there's an alien on the other side of the portal holding it open. You got to go there and deal with it." And then Gordon will jump in through a portal. Go fight a giant space baby called the Neolinth, kill the space baby, and then Half-Life basically ends, which is the end of the slideshow. Yay!
Well, if he's he's standing on the other side of the portal holding it open, is it like the elevator open button, something like that?
Yeah, just jamming it with his alien baby fingers.
Well, you should be able to override that if you put the portal into fire mode if someone has the key.
Oh yeah, the portal operator, it was government requirement. Like portal operators, they are totally needed. But
yeah, we got jobs program.
Yeah.
And you know what, Emilio, you did miss out an important part of the ending, is that at the end, the accounts department does visit Gordon in a tram ride through space.
Oh yeah, so at the end of the game, you're met by G-Man, who's this secret guy who has been shadow puppeting everything from behind the scenes, and he gives you a job offer. You're hiding right. You've just stopped an alien invasion. You got your first day of the job. Now you've got a new job lined up, and the game gives you a choice, which is really funny. The G-Man is like, "Hey Gordon, you can work for me, or you can go out of the tram that's floating through space. And if you do that, you get teleported to a room full of aliens with no weapons who kill you." So, it's just like every job you've ever had to take, which is, either starve. It's very, capitalist of it. It's like, oh, take this job or die.
Okay, so I do want to mention, I don't know the answer to this, but it is really weird that he's called the G-Man.
The G-Man.
And the main character is called Gordon.
It's Gordon Freeman G-Man. G-Man is also a slang for government man, because he looks like a government man. He's wearing a suit, and he's kind of creepy.
Oh,
so there's that connection.
It's like Men in Black.
Yeah, Men in Black.
It's the guys who visit you during a alleged alien sighting.
Yeah, I think part of
Oh.
G-Man's origin wasn't necessarily fully fleshed out. Like, they kind of keep it ambiguous. Oh, does
A whole
he?
bunch of this game isn't fully fleshed out.
So much.
Yes.
Half-Life 2 is better in so many ways.
Thank you.
But
Actually, I do want to bring up with that, when they created the design document for this game, they had over 200 pages of details.
oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah, and the guy, the article I summarized for this video was written by Ken Birdwell, who was a designer at Valve at the time, and he said that on a day-to-day basis, that 200 page document was vague.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So I think we're reaching the end of this podcast. It has been a journey, an engineering disaster.
Yeah.
We've learned some lessons. We've made fun of government overreach. Justin, any lessons? What do you think? Yep.
I would say, just remember that, fall hazards are a real workplace safety issue, which, can quite easily be fatal, even with fairly small falls. So always put in handrails. Make sure you cage your ladders if they're over. I'm not sure how long it's supposed to be. Make sure you're using proper safety equipment if there is an unguarded fall hazard. And just don't die from a fall. It's not good. That is what I would have to say. And Black Mesa should be written up for just how many unguarded fall hazards there are.
OSHA violations they have. Yeah.
Liam, any last words?
That sounded threatening.
I was about to say.
Well, you just stole my joke, so no, I'm good.
Why don't you? Do you guys have something to shout out? Of course you do, but just shout it out.
Yeah.
Well, there's your problem. I just subscribed to your Patreon.
Thank
Go
you.
subscribe to your Patreon.
That's so nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
You are currently supporting my ramen habit. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Yes, listen to There's Your Problem podcast. It's a podcast about engineering disasters, as we mentioned at the beginning of the podcast.
It's very good.
It's also very good.
It's very, very good. I think it's one of the best podcasts that's about leftism or about engineering disasters. And also Callum, do you want to do our segment?
Well, our segment, our shout outs, you mean. Please keep watching our show. Please keep watching our show. We don't do anything else anymore. Please. The world is hurting. Please keep watching the show, subscribe and comment and like and hit that bell and go to our Twitter and bully me, please. And if you can, please sign up to the Patreon as well. It will help us make these videos a bit more easily and eventually afford a KFC console.
Yeah, that is a goal on this podcast, to get a KFC console.
That's been a running theme since like episode 2.
Thank you so much, guys, for coming on. This is a really fun episode. I would love to have you guys on again. We can talk about infinity ways that people can fall off surfaces with no rails.
Star Wars would be a good
Star Wars would be a good episode. Everyone take care. Get your vaccines if you can. Wear your mask. And be safe. Good night, everyone.
And just remember, the real problem was the Byte Marx we found along the way.
Yeah.
Cut it. Okay.
Good night, and what the fuck are you doing, Todd?
Yeah, that's right. We make fun of Todd at the end of every episode for Bethesda. All right, bye. For real. Okay. Before we go, we'd like to give a special shout out to the people that make Byte Marx happen, our beloved patrons. You should see them right now on the screen, and we'd like to give a special shout out to the Gigabyte tier patrons, Liam Anderson, Forrest, and Ilya Stope. Thanks a lot, guys. And also thanks to all of our other patrons. You guys really help us out and make Byte Marx a show that's something that we just want to keep doing and keep trying to make better. Okay, bye for real now. Goodbye.